everybody, and welcome to Talkin Fight with me, Holly Donovan. Thank you so much for joining us today. I will be previewing the fight night that is happening in Abu Dhabi tomorrow night, firework night, 5th of November, live on DAZN across the world. It's a massive fight, so I'm going to go through probably the top 4 fights, give you some ideas about the fighters on them, a couple on the undercard as well. It's going to be really action-packed. I'm very excited. I know I say this every week. I'm like, oh, I'm dead excited about this one. Genuinely really excited. We've been spoiled for amazing fight nights lately. So if you like the preview or the show, please hit like, please subscribe. It helps us out and we're very appreciative. But without further ado, let's begin the show. So tomorrow night, we will be seeing Dmitry Bivol versus Jerald Ramirez. And they've got amazing co-headline as well in Chantelle Cameron and Jessica McCaskill. We're also seeing the return of the Yafai brothers, which is pretty cool. But first up, let's start at the top, shall we? So, Dmitry Bivol versus Jerald Ramirez. Please, can you go to the next picture? And we should have a little close-up of these two. All right, so Dmitry Bivol, he is the current WBA light heavyweight title holder, and he kind of flew into fame, I would say, in his last fight where he beat Canelo Alvarez. Now, that was a crazy fight where everyone was on the Canelo train. He had decided to go up to light heavyweight, and he saw Dmitry Bivol as his first target, his first belt that he could get probably easily, I think is what he was thinking. However, in the ring, Dmitry Bivol had very different ideas. Canelo did everything he possibly could to try and get at him. But Dmitry's ring IQ and defense was just so good. It was almost like Canelo he just couldn't get to him. People argue, though, that obviously Canelo isn't naturally a light heavyweight and Dmitry Bivol was much bigger. He is much bigger. So this time he's going to have an opponent which is more matched. However, Canelo's amazing. So does that mean that Dmitry Bivol is even better? He has had 20 fights. He is undefeated, and 11 of those have come with KO. He is Korean Russian. He has quite a cool story, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of it right now. So he is the son of 2 farmers. His dad is from Kyrgyzstan and his mum is actually Korean. And his childhood was spent like working in the farm, in the fields in Kyrgyzstan. He comes from a really poor family, but they were determined to give Dmitry as many opportunities as possible. And his first fighting, I guess you could call it, began with wushu, martial arts. So Dmitry Bivol was sent there when he was only 6. But he didn't like it and he didn't like kicking. So they sent him to boxing instead. And that's where they saw that he was a natural, basically, straight away. Therefore, his mum and dad just poured their heart and soul into it. But because times were hard, I mean, there are stories where Dmitry Bivol, when he was little, he used to train in ballet shoes because he couldn't afford proper equipment. Whole communities would club together to share cars to take him to events. It's really sweet story, actually. But Dmitry has said that he felt a lot of pressure as a child to become really good, and that's why he trained so hard to thank his parents for putting so much into him, really. In 2002, his family actually sold everything they had in Kyrgyzstan. They just gave up the farm, everything they had, and they moved to Russia purely to give Dmitry better boxing opportunities. They saw something so bright in him. They moved into a flat. 9 people apparently lived in a 2-bedroom flat. But that's when Bivol started winning amateur titles and showing everyone that it was absolutely worth it. And in 2014, he went pro. Now, this is quite cool. It only took him 18 months and 7 fights to become world champion. So hopefully that gives you an idea of just how good Dmitry Bivol is. Now he lives with his wife and 2 sons. And this is quite a cool story as well. Bivol went away to do a boxing camp. And when he came back, his youngest son had learned how to speak, he'd learned how to crawl, he basically learned a whole bunch of things. And Dmitry Bivol was like, well, if he can do that and he can learn how to speak, I'm going to learn English. So he was inspired by his baby son to learn English. And if you see now, he does quite good interviews in English. He's done a really good job. Now, boxing wise, I mean, his defense is incredible. His ring craft is amazing. He's a really classical boxer. He's really, really hard to hit, as Canelo found. What I also like about him is that he's really respectful. There isn't a lot of beef in this. He hasn't been throwing any insults because that's just not what Dmitry Bivol does. He's really respectful and he wants to show his craft within the ring. So I'm a big fan of Bivol. Now he is against Zerdo Ramirez, who will be a really good opponent, and this will be a good fight. Zerdo Ramirez is very different to Canelo. Obviously, he's a natural light heavy. Also, he's a southpaw. In fact, Zerdo means lefty, so that's where he got his little nickname. Tell you a bit about Ramirez. He has an amazing story as well. So he started work at the age of 12 on a building site. He used to carry massive 25-kilogram sacks on like each shoulder. That probably explains how he looks right now. He was obviously in weight training from a very young age. Really, really strong. He comes from Mexico and from a very poor village in Mexico where gang culture is absolutely rife. And so Zerdo was brought up with this being a very normalized thing for him. And when he was 12, he actually witnessed his first murder. It was a stabbing. But to him, like I say, this was just a normal thing. And he spent most of his life kind of juggling or trying to get away from being in trouble or getting into the gangs with fighting for a boxing career. So he continued in construction and working in construction, but he was encouraged to go to boxing clubs. He went at 12 years old, and similar to Bivol, actually, there are stories where he used to box in sandals because, again, there wasn't any equipment. There are also stories where when he was young, he said he carried a knife at the age of 12 because that was a normal thing. And they went around with a mantra, which was kill or be killed. So he's a really, really tough person from a very, very young age. A lot of his friends, he saw them killed or go to jail. But when he was in the boxing training, he made friends with or was noticed by his trainer called Zapari. Now, he saw potential in Zerdo and wanted to keep him out of trouble. And he said, come on, let's go and fight in the amateurs. Let's get you a couple of medals. To which Zerdo replied, well, medals can't feed my family. You can't eat them. So he carried on working in construction and juggling. When he was 18, he was in a car crash because he was drunk. And it was a near-death experience. So Zerdo Ramirez literally nearly died on that day. And Zapari said, no, that's enough. I'm having you out of there. Come and live with me. He took him in at the age of 18 and he said, come and live with me. I will do everything for you, but you have to train full time and there's a curfew. So you can't go out. He was literally taken out away. He couldn't join those gangs. He had to remain out of trouble. And in return, Zapari would train him and help his career. By this time, he was already a pro and he was 6-0. And so this was an amazing thing for him, and he put everything into it, trained every single day, and just rose to the top really, really quickly. He was the first Mexican to get a world title at 168 pounds, which is a super middleweight. It's amazing because when people say to him, oh, what would you have been if this hadn't happened, if Zapari hadn't have taken you in? And he said, oh, I'd probably be a hitman because that was just a normal thing. Boxing style, I mean, he is a volume puncher. He throws out punches. So is he going to be able to land any on Bivol? We're going to see tomorrow night. The bookies have Bivol as a favourite. I probably would have a nod to him as well. But I do think this is going to be an amazing fight. I mean, Zerdo Ramirez has had 44 fights. He's totally undefeated and he's had 13 knockouts. So you can see that kill or be killed mentality for sure. So yeah, absolutely incredible. I'm really excited to see what happens here. I think it will go the full 12 rounds, but I think Bivol will win on points just because he's a magician in the ring. Okay, so let's go to our next fight, which is, got a new little picture for you. It should be, there we go, we've got Chantelle Cameron and we've got Jessica McCaskill. I've chosen that picture because Jessica McCaskill, she's posed like this for all of these photos. And people have said to her, why are you so angry in your photos? Why do you want to be so angry? And she said, because on Saturday night, I bring mass destruction. That's direct quotes. So she is absolutely up for it. And not being funny, she looks absolutely terrifying then. If I would not go near. So let's talk about these guys. This is for the undisputed super lightweight belts. So all of the belts on the line here. 2 of them Chantelle Cameron already has. 2 of them are vacated. So they're vacant belts. Everything is up for grabs. Jessica McCaskill is already a two-weight world champion, and she's already undisputed in the weight category above. So she's come down to have this fight against Chantelle Cameron. Chantelle, let's chat about her first because she is the current champ in this weight. She is 16-0, so she's totally undefeated. Half of those have been KOs, so 8 KOs. Now, Chantelle, I know I say this every week. I'm like, I love her. I really do love Chantelle. There's a nice story for myself here. When I was starting out, she was the first boxer, world champion boxer, to let me talk to her and to let me interview her. She believed in me, and I believe in her. She gave me the time of day, and I will always be grateful because I wouldn't be doing this show right now today if it wasn't for Chantelle Cameron. So thank you, Chantelle. Like, I'm so on your side. Like, you please win tomorrow night. So let's talk about her. There's a great interview, actually. I'm just going to blow my own trumpet here. If you go on the Fight to Fight with Holly Donovan, you will actually see the full interview with me and Chantelle Cameron, where she talks about how she got into boxing, her career, the things she fights for, the things she wants to do with women's boxing. Really interesting. So please check that out as well if you want to know more about Chantelle. So she began with kickboxing because there were way more females in the kickboxing club. So she went there because she felt more comfortable. It was just simple for her. However, the kickboxing place was quite far away. She had to travel quite a long way. She didn't want to travel, and there was a boxing gym that was much closer. So she decided one day to check out the boxing gym. She went in, and she was completely overwhelmed, absolutely hated everything about it. Loads and loads of blokes everywhere. She felt incredibly uncomfortable. She left. She didn't go back for 3 months. She was pretty much like, nah, no, I'm not having that. Can you believe that? 2-time world champion. She's like, nope, not going back there. I've just had a question there. Who are you picking to win? I'm going to say Chantelle. She is the favorite in the bookies as well. However, it's going to be a really tough matchup, and I'll explain why. Once she finally went back after 3 months, she finally went back to the boxing gym, and she had to full on earn respect. So she was fighting in the corner. She was doing all her drills, all her skipping. Eventually, the coach let her do pads with him, and that's when he started to see, okay, this girl's got potential. She said she had to beat quite a few boys up before she got respect, but she did totally get it. And she also says that she loves being hit in the face. Makes her feel alive, which is quite funny because Jessica McCaskill said something quite similar as well. So this is a real bust up here. She went into the amateurs, joined TGB. She said it was like being wrapped in cotton wool. Everything was really lovely. And in 2017, she decided to go pro, but very quickly realized that pro was a whole different game. It was a business. There was no more cotton wool. She signed to Cyclone Productions. She couldn't talk too much about it because she didn't want to get into trouble, but essentially they did not treat her well. She had 4-week camps. As you know, that's not good enough. It's not long enough. She was put on the sidelines, wasn't enough attention, always waiting for opponents, and poor Chantelle was just so frustrated. She did get signed to Matchroom though. Eddie Hearn took over. That's when things started to come for her. Still a lot of frustration waiting for fights, but she did manage to get her first world championship. That was lightweight belts. But again, she didn't want to wait for opponents. So even though she was a world champion in that weight category, it would have meant waiting for Katie Taylor. And obviously, we all know that Katie Taylor's got a massive queue of people wanting to fight her. Always had, always will. So she decided she would vacate the belts, move up a weight category. She was like, let's give other people an opportunity. I'm going to try my hand at super lightweight. So here she is at super lightweight. She won 2 belts. Her last fight was against Mary McGee. Super easy. It's just business, really. Goes in, gets the job done. She trains with Jamie Moore. You'll know him. He trained brilliant fighters like Carl Frampton. I know he trains Jack Catterall. I think he had Tyson Fury for a bit as well. So she's in a really great stable as well. Now, she has always been frustrated waiting for fights in this weight category as well. She really wanted to fight Kaylee Reese, who had the other two super lightweight belts, which are now vacated. But she was signed out because of health problems. And then I heard this morning. I'm not sure if it's totally true, but apparently she's got a massive part in True Detective season 4. So she's just ditch boxing and she's off being an actor. So yeah, okay. Which leaves the door open for her to fight Jessica McCaskill. So let's go on to Jessica. She is a two-weight world champion. Like I said earlier, she's already undisputed in the weight category higher. She has had 12 wins, 2 losses, but one was ages ago, and the other one was to Katie Taylor in 2017. We'll let her off that one. She's had 5 KOs, and you'll probably know her because of the big upset she had against Cecilia Breakhouse, who's an amazing fighter. No one thought she'd beat her, but she did. She beat her twice. She became undisputed and has since made 3 defenses. So she's really tough. She's been proving herself. She has a great story as well. She was actually homeless as a child. She comes from Chicago. She actually lived with her family in the back of a church, and she has spent her whole life fighting for better. Really. She fell into boxing totally by chance. She actually preferred team sports like cheerleading and basketball and things like that. But when she first went to a boxing club, she absolutely loved it. She said when she got hit in the face, she was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I could do this, and quite enjoyed it, just like Chantelle Cameron. So carried on from there. Something really interesting about her as well is that she's also an investment banker, and she has that as a full-time job. So in the morning she goes for a run, then she signs on, does her investment banking job, and then she has 2 more training sessions that day. So we're talking about a really hard worker here who absolutely goes through really, really long days and incredibly determined. When people have said to her, why investment banking? She said, well, in some ways it's similar because they're both really male dominated, boxing and investment banking. She's just fighting against the man all the time. So she is a pressure fighter. She has an engine like no other. She really can carry on. She's engaged to her trainer as well, which I think is a lovely relationship. If she wins tomorrow night, she is going to be 2-weight world champion, undisputed in 2 weights. So this is very exciting. It's a really close fight here. I mean, bookies have it at like 60-40. Some of them are a lot closer. That's to Chantelle Cameron. I'm going to say Chantelle because I love Chantelle. She believed in me. I believe in her. Let's now go on to the third fight. So next photo, please. Thank you, Eric. Eric's our producer. He's awesome. Okay, so let's chat about this one. Interesting. I know that we've got Joe Cordina in the middle of that photo. You're probably like, what? 3 people? Why? Because Zelfa Barrett, he is against Shavkatdzhon Rakhimov, and this is for the vacant super featherweight belt. Now, this belt is the one that Joe Cordina won earlier this year. Dude in the middle. Now, he had this incredible knockout over Kenichi Ogawa. Watch it if you haven't seen it. It's on YouTube. It's absolutely brilliant. It's an amazing knockout. He won that world title, but immediately afterwards got a hand injury. And when he went into camp for this fight that was supposed to be against Rakhimov, he broke his hand in the first spar and was then signed out for a further 6 months. Now, he had already been given time from the governing the board to get better. So he had already been said, okay, you can have a few months, you can keep the belt for a few months, let's see if you can get better. He didn't get better in time, so he had to vacate the belt. However, both Zelfa Barrett and Shavkatdzhon Rakhimov have signed contracts that whoever wins this fight tomorrow night will then fight Joe Cordina next. So he will get a chance to get his belt back because, my God, did he win it well. So, well, we'll see. It means that Zelfa Barrett gets an opportunity. He is 29. He is from Manchester. He has won 28 fights. He's lost 1, but it was quite a while ago. 16 KOs, and he is on a 9-fight winning streak, which is pretty cool. So this is for the super featherweight title, as I said. He's from a super boxing family. His uncle is Uncle Pat Barrett. Uncle Pat Barrett. He challenged for the welterweight title. Then his cousin is also Lyndon Arthur. You probably know him. He was the Commonwealth light heavyweight champion. So he comes from that family. He used to be ringside for Ricky Hatton's fights, which is pretty cool. So he went pro in 2014. You might know him because he beat Kiko Martinez back in February 2021. Now we know Kiko Martinez because he had the epic win last weekend over Jordan Gill. Like, my God, was he brilliant. He's really come back. So this just shows that Zelfa Barrett is a decent fighter. He's really good. If he can beat Kiko Martinez, then I think we're in for a treat tomorrow night. Now he is against Rakhimov, who has won 16 fights. He's undefeated. He drew one of them. It's not this photo, by the way. It's the photo just before. Rakhimov has had 13 KOs. There he is. So Rakhimov has had 13 KOs. He's on the left with the black girl. The draw he had was 2 fights ago, so he's coming off the back of 2 wins now, so back in it. He was actually the former super featherweight champion from 2017 to 2019, so he's a big deal as well. He was an amateur, won a lot of national championships. He had his debut at the age of 21. He won his world title in his 11th fight. He's a tough fighter. He leads with his right hand. He's one of those pressure fighters. Again, we've got a lot of those tomorrow night. Comes forward a lot. So this is very interesting. Who's going to win this one? I'm going to say Zelfa Barrett is going to win that. But I think it's going to be exciting either way. So tune in. Now let's go to the next picture. So you saw a little glimpse of this earlier. You got a little forward excitement there. Oh, it should be coming. It should be coming. Next picture. There you go. All right. So we have Galal Yafai wearing the belt. Okay. And he is against Gohan Garcia. Now, this is cool. Galal Yafai is someone to watch. He's from a massive boxing family. I'm going to talk about his older brother in a minute because he is also on this same card. Now, Galal is the Tokyo Olympic golden boy, 1 gold. He's very, very impressive. He's 29 and they are fast tracking him like you wouldn't believe. In his first pro fight, so his debut fight, he won the vacant international flyweight and he won it in the 5th round in a TKO. Then in his second ever pro fight, obviously it was his defense of this belt, and he won, and this time he won with a TKO in round 2. He's a southpaw. He's a come forward. He doesn't have to defend because he just goes for it. It's just he's a massive attacking fighter. So let's hope that Gohan Garcia is going to be a slightly better and more durable opponent for him. This fight was supposed to be on the 8th of October on the Ben Eubank card, but obviously you know what happened there. So they've been pushed to this card instead, but they were told straight away. So hopefully they've had time to adjust and get ready for this one. So again, he's defending that international flyweight title, is Galal. Gohan Garcia, he has won 12 fights. He has lost 1. And he's got 1 KO. So that suggests to me he's going to be better. And hopefully we're going to see slightly more of a fight. He's rated 15th in the IBF. However, I mean, I'm just going to give this to Galal. I think there's just no contest. He's going to win. If you want to make an easy bet, there you go. Really hope I'm not wrong. Don't hold me to that. Okay. Okay, let's talk about... so the other person on this card is his older brother, Khalid Yafai. So if you go to the next slide, we've got a nice little picture of him. He's the older bro. So he is 33. Now he's been gone or away from the sport for 2.5 years. Now he was a world champion. And he had 27 wins and only 1 loss. That loss was in February 2020, and that was when he came away from the sport and stopped. That fight was an epic fight to the amazing Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. So he lost that fight. It was his first ever career loss. It was his 6th defense of his world title, and he was Britain's longest reigning world champion. So Khalid Yafai, he's incredible. He held that belt from 2016 to 2020, so he had it for a whole 4 years. He's back now as bantamweight, so he's moved up. This is a good idea because he said that he would be really struggling where he was before at super featherweight. That was too light. Now he's gone to bantamweight. He's got more power. He feels confident. I'm really excited to see him back. It's been a long time. He said he had a year with absolutely no training at all. He just came out of the sport. And then he spent about a year and a half now getting himself back and preparing for tomorrow night. I think this is amazing. I really hope that he goes straight into where he was before, because he's clearly a brilliant fighter. That whole family is. He is against Jerald Paclar, who he's won 16 fights. He's lost 5. He's from the Philippines. I think this is going to be an easy win for Cal. Yeah, it'll be really nice to see him back, see if there's any new things that he's learned. And like I said, he's an amazing fighter, so he'll be a treat to watch. The last person I want to talk about actually is also on the card. You'll know his dad, Campbell Hatton. Next picture, please. I think you've got a little picture of him and his dad, Ricky. There you go. Okay, so we all know Ricky Hatton, multi-time world champion. He's actually making a comeback soon as well. But his son, Campbell, he is 8-0, and he's looking obviously to become 9-0 tomorrow night. He's had 2 KOs. His debut was in 2021, so he's still brand new. And it's nice watching someone, develop. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure coming from that family and being the son of such a great. So I wish him all the best. I've seen one fight, I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago, where it was a bit dodgy and he got the win, and I'm not entirely sure he should have done. However, I'm excited to see the new skills he's bringing. I mean, if you've got Ricky Hatton in your corner, then you can't really go wrong. So look out for him tomorrow night as well. Also on this card, there's actually quite a few new Emirati fighters, because obviously we're in Abu Dhabi and they're trying really hard to bring it into into the limelight there. So hopefully you're going to see some really new interesting fighters there too. I'm excited for tomorrow night. It's one hell of a card. Tune in. It's on DAZN. It's available across the world. It's at UK time, but that means if you're on the other side of the world, America, obviously you can just have it in the afternoon and have a great afternoon of boxing. Please join me next week, where I will be previewing the fight in Manchester from Boxer and Sky Sports. Natasha Jonas is back. She's got 2 belts. She's going for a 3rd against Marie-Eve Decaire. That'll be a unification fight, obviously, for that 3rd belt. And we're also going to see a British clash between Dalton Smith and Cassie Benjamin. So tune in next week and I'll preview those. Oh, there's a little poster. I forgot I've got that. There you go. So I hope you enjoyed the show today. Like I said, please hit like, please subscribe. Really appreciate it. And I'll look forward to seeing you same time next week on Talkin Fight with Holly Donovan at 2 p.m. UK time. I'll see you soon. Have a lovely weekend.